thank you so much for having us. I am Paula.
And I'm Naren.
And we are the co-owners of Zero Waste Emporium. So Zero Waste Emporium is Vancouver Island's first zero waste grocery store. We opened in August 2 years ago. And until recently, we were the only zero waste grocery store on the island. And our main mission is to try to reduce the amount of waste that is ending up in our landfills and in our oceans by making zero waste shopping easy and convenient for everybody in our city and create a resource for people in our city.
Yeah. So the main purpose of what we're doing is we're trying to eliminate waste from all sides of the waste stream. So we sell everything in bulk and we sell everything unpackaged. Our space is about 2,000 square feet. And in there you have everything that a standard grocery store does provide. But we again allow people to bring in their own clean and dry containers, and they can refill what they want to the amount that they want as well. So not only does this allow people to cut down on the waste that they're producing, but it also allows them to save money as well, because they're not buying as much. They're only buying what they need. So they're saving money and they're cutting down on waste as well.
And we really encourage people to bring containers that they already have at home. So use things that they already have rather than buying new things just for the purpose of refilling them, right? So if you have a shampoo bottle that is empty or an olive oil bottle, you just keep on reusing those containers over and over and over again, extending the life of the container and producing a lot less waste in the long run. So we try to create a system where there is no waste from the beginning of the food supply chain all the way to the end. So we have chosen a lot of local suppliers and producers that are willing to participate in circular economy programs. So we could have created container exchange programs with the majority of our local distributors and local suppliers. And this allows us to bring in fresh product, things like tofu, for example, that is made only a few blocks away from the store. We provide a container that they fill with tofu, and then every week we return a container and they give us a new one. And we just keep on reusing those same containers over and over again. So we're getting things like tofu that are hard to get without packaging. We can get them made fresh and without packaging from the start all the way to the consumer, right? And in the time that we've been open, in this manner, and with the help from all of our customers, we have managed to divert over 200,000 containers from the landfill.
Yeah, so like Paula was mentioning, we opened our brick and mortar store about 2 years ago now, and it's at 1728 Douglas Street. Right now, of course, because of what's going on, we're switched to an online shopping at zerowastemporium.com.
Yeah, so we're getting people to shop online. They can see our full inventory on the website, and they get to choose what amounts they would prefer. And we're packing all of the dry items in paper bags and compostable paper bags. And all of the wet items or liquid items will go into refundable glass jars that can be returned to us so we can sanitize them and then reuse them again. So we're trying to maintain the zero waste aspect all throughout this crisis as well. I think people really need to kind of learn a little bit of how to use your food a little bit better and how to preserve it better. In the past, we've been told that wrapping things in plastic is the best way to preserve it, but that's not quite true, right? Your food needs to breathe. And so by wrapping it in plastic, you're literally suffocating it. So first by starting to learn a little bit on how to preserve your food for a little bit longer, and then what to do with it if it's not perfect. So as you were mentioning, making applesauce out of apples that are bruised, or freezing your apples as well. Like if you slice them up and just freeze them, you can use them for pies later on. So yeah, just finding kind of creative ways to start doing that. And there are a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of chefs out there that will kind of teach you a little bit on Instagram and Facebook how to use your food in different ways. The Food Eco District as well has put a lot of really good workshops on how to make changes and how to use your food differently, right? Not expect for it to always be perfect.
Yeah, I think people should get back into the habit of eating a little more local and a little more seasonally as well. This would cut down on a lot of food waste, I believe, and it would encourage people to get a little more excited. Um, if they're eating seasonally, then you can look forward to those cauliflowers that come around in the early spring and through the summer, and forces you to, like I said, be more creative with your cooking and get a little more excited about your food, which creates a healthy environment and relationship to food. Yeah, we do. The only I'm going to call them essential fruits that we bring in are avocados and bananas.
Yeah.
We do have some pineapple,
Mhm.
but quite typically we'll rescue a lot of food that doesn't sell. So, for example, the bananas and the pineapple that are past that expectation of perfect, we'll cut up and we'll freeze. And
Mhm.
then we'll sell frozen fruit, and then you can have a smoothie through the winter if you wish,
Right.
with frozen bananas and frozen pineapples. But yeah, we try to do a lot of internal food rescuing in the store.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Yeah, and we try to buy as local and as seasonal as well throughout the year. So there, as Naren was mentioning, there are the expectations that we have to have bananas and we have to have avocados, and people will get angry if you don't have them. It's one of those expectations that now everybody has, right? But for everything else, we really try to support our local farmers. And so we have partnered up with a lot of the farmers on the Sandwich Peninsula as well as the Cowichan Valley. And we try to focus on bringing what they have available. So this time of year is a little tricky because we're kind of in that shoulder season, but right now we're starting to see a lot of salad greens, a lot of spinach coming in, a lot of kale. We recently just started getting cauliflower from Mitchell's Farms, which is the first cauliflowers of the year. And finding cauliflower that is package free can be really hard throughout the year. So it's really exciting when you get the cauliflower at the time of the year. And then throughout the winter, we get a lot of the frozen berries. So a lot of the farmers will freeze all the excess berries that they get throughout the summer, and then we can sell them frozen. So that still allows people to eat locally, but now it's frozen, right? So it eliminates food waste at the farmer side,
Mhm.
and it also eliminates food waste at the store, and people can still access those fruits that normally are summer fruits.
so we have about 40 different suppliers that are local to even Victoria, within a 5 or 6 block radius. So we have vegan cheeses and crackers, and all of our granola is made locally as well. And with all of our local suppliers, we've encouraged and has been supported of this container exchange program, where we will get containers and we'll send them back. So all of our local suppliers are completely package free to us, so that we can provide that zero waste experience from start to finish. But yeah, over 40% of what we carry in store is locally produced and made here in Victoria.
Yeah, and some of the exciting products that normally you wouldn't find anywhere else are things like milk on tap. So we bring in milk from Morningstar Farms. They are the ones that make the delicious little Qualicum cheeses. So we send containers up to the farm in Parksville on Wednesdays, and then it comes back full on Thursdays. So we have milk on tap, and you can pour as much or as little as you need, right? Instead of having to buy a bottle or a gallon or whatever, right? And you know where your milk is actually coming from because you know what farm it's coming from, and you can actually go visit the animals on the farm, which is an exciting part of it. Same comes for yogurt. We have Tree Island yogurt on tap. That makes it exciting as well to be able to have as much or as little yogurt without having to commit to a plastic tub of yogurt, right?
Yeah. Our local consumable vinegars are made by Spinnaker's Brew Pub, which is really neat.
Mm.
They make alcohol, but of course they make vinegar as well. So our apple cider vinegar comes from them. They also supply us with fresh carbonated spring water. So we have spring water on tap as well, that you can come in and bring your bottle and get fresh artisanal well water from Souk.
I would say spices is one of the hardest. Um, Spices kind of come from all over the world, and to maintain them fresh, they do normally come packaged. And so for us, what we do is we try to buy the largest packages available to minimize the amount of plastic that is being used. And then we reuse the plastic as much as we can, or we send it to a soft plastics recycling facility in Vancouver that is actually recycling the plastic and turning it into new pellets. Yeah, I would, at least for me, I think that would be the hardest one.
There's been some things that have been hard for us to supply or to find. Vinegar is actually one of them. Vinegar took us almost a year to find a supplier to the amount that we needed. Because you can go out, you can buy the 4-liter jugs of vinegar quite easily, but anything after that, you're looking at around 10,000 gallons of vinegar. So it took us a year to find a supplier for vinegar.
Well, it's great that you found one so close to home.
Yeah. And there's some things that we just couldn't find zero waste that we just decided to make in-house.
Okay.
So pasta sauce was one of them. Trying to find a local purveyor for pasta sauce. We just decided to make our own pasta sauce. And same with butter. You can't find unpackaged butter. It just doesn't exist.
Okay.
So we make our own in-house organic grass-fed butter, and I make them in little 100-gram butter balls. So yeah, the things that we can't find zero waste, we're exploring options of creating them ourselves, and it's been quite successful. Yeah, and as our business has evolved, it's allowed us more time to be creative. And I have a background in an education in professional chefing, so it allows me to get back to those roots a little bit and be creative.
We are honestly getting a little bit of everything, and people from all walks of life and all ages as well. When we first started this journey and we were only doing farmers markets, our main demographic was mostly women, and usually between the ages of 20 and 45, 50, more or less. But ever since we opened the store, we really saw a complete change, and now we see people from all over. We get a lot of the younger people that are really trying to make a difference in what their future will look like. And then we get a lot of the more mature population that remembers that this is the way their parents used to shop for groceries. That they used to use their own containers and bring their own, reusable bags and whatnot to the grocery store. And yeah, we have people that are committed to reducing waste. But for a lot of people, this has become more of a novel idea. So they come in and try it out. And the beauty with buying in bulk is that you can try out a little bit of each product and see if you like it, and then you can continue and buy more. So it allows you to start this waste reduction journey slowly. You can ease into it. You don't have to do it all at once, right? So yeah, we're seeing a lot of new people coming in, especially since we opened the online store. We've had quite an influx of new customers that have just discovered the store.
Yeah. So it's quite a range of people, like Paula was saying, because we have to bear in mind that grocery stores have only been around for maybe just over 100 years. And single-use plastic packaging that we're so accustomed to seeing in the grocery store only took off after World War II as a commodity of ease, right? So it's all fairly new, but what we're doing is fairly old, actually. So yeah, like Paula said, you have that older generation that remembers that their parents, this is the way they used to shop. And then you get the younger generation that comes in that wants to make an impact in the world. So we're seeing all sorts of people come into the store, and it's fantastic.
Absolutely. In Europe, the movement has been around for the last 10 years or so. And it's a bit of a different culture. In most of Europe, you will see, even though when you have large cities, you will have smaller pockets and smaller neighborhoods that still have a baker and a cheesemonger and a butcher, right? And so people go to those specific shops to get their food rather than going to a large grocery store. Large grocery stores are actually a North American thing that are now transitioning towards Europe. But in Europe, there's that culture of actually knowing who's making your food. And so the zero waste movement is spread really quickly through Europe in the last 10 years. And it's kind of just an evolution of what the lifestyle was already there. While in North America is a completely new thing. So in the last 2 years, we've seen quite an increase in the amount of zero waste stores throughout Canada. When we opened 2 years ago, there was only 3 of us that were kind of well known. Montreal had quite a few, but then Ottawa got the new grocer, and Vancouver already had the soap dispensary, and they had been around for about 10 years. But it kind of bloomed a little bit 2 years ago when they opened their kitchen staples side. And then there was Nada Grocery as well that opened up in Vancouver, and us. Other than that, it was very sparse. There was a lot of refill shops here and there, but nothing to the extent of a full grocery store that was zero waste. And since then, we've seen a huge influx of zero waste grocery stores all throughout the country. They're spreading quite quickly, and we constantly get emails from people asking how to open a zero waste grocery store and how to get their journey started. So the movement is really catching on here, but it was in Europe over 10 years ago. We have over 1,000 individual items in stock, but usually we only have 2 or 3 varieties of a specific item. Okay. So I think granolas is our largest variety. So largest we have our largest selection. We have 5 different types of granolas. But other than that, we only have 2 types of crackers or 2 types of plantain chips, 2 types of tofu, right? So we only try to limit the selection to those things that are fresh and that are local. You don't need 17 different brands of crackers with 17 different types of packaging that are going to overwhelm you because you don't know which one is best, right? If we have only a few different selections, then people have an easier time of choosing what they like.
Again, stressing for people to try to shop locally as much as possible. Buy only what you need, buy in bulk when you can, and eat seasonally, and reconsider doing some veggie rescue. Try to challenge yourself not to buy perfect vegetables. Buy the vegetables that are not in perfect condition. Be a savior of some veggie compost. Yeah. Inevitability.
And another thing is, we see this quite a bit in the grocery store business. There's a subconscious way that people shop. And so if you have a shelf that is full of things, people will be attracted to it and will grab quite a few. But if there's only 5 tomatoes left, nobody will touch them. And then those 5 tomatoes will eventually go bad. So try to make sure that you're consciously grabbing those last few things that are left on the shelf, so they don't go to waste, and try to get over that idea that we have to have this great abundance. That's one of the main reasons why we have so much food waste in the grocery industry. They will buy an excess of 30 to 40% of their produce because they know that percentage will go straight into the compost because people won't touch it. So they have this idea that it has to be really full shelves for people to shop and to give that impression of abundance. But half of that product is just there as a filler. And so we need to get away from that. We need to get away from that 30 to 40% food waste already created at the grocery store level and also at the farmer's level. So grocery stores are very picky as to what produce they will get from farmers. And it has to be a specific size. It has to be a specific color. It has to be just perfect. And if it's not perfect, then the farmer has to leave it on the field, which is creating a lot of food waste right at the farmer level. So we need to start changing those expectations as to what produce should look like and start picking those last few things that are left over.
For having me. My name is Janine Boyce, and I'm the Senior Director with the Mustard Seed Street Church. We have the great privilege and honor to operate the Food Rescue Project in the city of Esquimalt. The warehouse, our food security distribution center, runs 6 days a week, where we have 5 trucks traveling to 14 local grocery stores, picking up fresh, whole food, produce, dairy, meat, and then we have the opportunity to clean and glean it, package it, and distribute it to 68 agencies in the Greater Victoria area. This project has incredible impacts, both environmentally and human impacts. We are feeding over 45,000 individuals with this food, and we are rescuing from our landfill 9,000 pounds a day. The food that arrives each day there is redistributed within 24 hours. There is an 8% waste on top of that 9,000 pounds. Last year, we opened our processing kitchen. This gave us the opportunity to take that food, the 9,000 pounds of food, the 8% waste, and cut it down to 4, because that food that couldn't go out right away in a fresh state could be turned into soups, sauces, stocks, and ready-made meals. These items are then distributed to all the agencies as well. Our goal at the Food Security Distribution Center is to eventually become waste-free. We are working toward granting opportunities for composters to take the leftover items and have them composted. So we operate out of Esquimalt, and we distribute to the greater Victoria communities as well as surrounding islands. So we are out in the western communities, right out to Souk, up through Mill Bay to Duncan.
Wow.
And then through Greater Victoria, as well as Salt Spring, Gabriola, Thetis Island receives food as well. We support multiple different agencies, from food banks to high school cooking programs. Esquimalt High is one of the partnerships we have, as well as transition houses, shelters like Our Place, retirement homes. We support any nonprofit or charity that needs food to distribute to the public. We believe that fresh, whole food is what people need in their bodies to make good choices, to get out of the current crisis or situation they're in. And we are empowering individuals to give back to our environment, because the environmental impacts are incredible. This food from the grocery store normally ends up in the landfill. Now we're redistributing it to families. And this is happening through a collaborative effort of the City of Esquimalt, our local grocery stores, and the Food Share Network, the agencies that are picking up the food from the mustard seed and taking it to families. So like I said, our goal is to be a zero waste facility, rescuing 9,000 pounds a day. There is still about an 8% waste. Our mandate is to get that food out of the doors within 24 hours. With the 8% waste, we've been able to drop it down to 4% with our processing kitchen, creating the soups, sauces, and stocks. Also with that kitchen, we've had the opportunity to start to lease out space in a donation basis, what you can give, to small batch distributors. We're talking about local farmers, Esquimalt canners, saying, here's this facility. We believe in strengthening the local food economy and working together to strengthen all the Greater Victoria area. Our hope is to move into the stage of zero waste with large composters, and we're working towards granting and funding for that. Also, on the other side of our building, we are working toward putting another very large walk-in fridge. We believe that farmers, did you know that 70% of our food grown on the island is shipped to Vancouver and then is brought back? We've lost that sort of connection of growing our food local. So let's build these rooms where small batch farmers can come in, use the walk-in fridge, and then have these little processing rooms where they can prepare their food and distribute it. Farming is not an incredibly lucrative business, but it's an essential business for all of us to survive. So we believe that the Food Security Distribution Center is in the stage 1 and stage 2 of this large local food hub that can empower, encourage, and strengthen all these partners, farmers, small batch distributors, local grocery stores, nonprofit agencies, the mustard seed, school education programs on food literacy, how to cook with whole healthy food. All of these people coming together in one location to strengthen our local food economy is our purpose and our goal going forward. So if people want to get involved and support the Food Security Distribution Center and the operations that are taking place within that center, they're welcome to donate through our hotline. The number is 250-953-1581. And just reiterate to the operator that you're looking to support the Food Security Distribution Center and food security initiatives in Greater Victoria. Also, if you want to get involved, you're welcome to look at signing up to volunteer. We run on a pre-COVID basis 50 volunteers a day in the warehouse, cleaning and gleaning and sorting the food. To make our operations feasible around costs, we run on volunteers. During the COVID, we have shrunk down our volunteer list just for the protection of the staff as well as for the agencies that are receiving the food. But I do know that as this starts to come to an end, there will be a great need for more volunteers. So you're welcome to go online to the Mustard Seed website and fill out a volunteer application form, or you can email volunteers@mustardseed.ca. That's volunteers@mustardseed.ca. The other thing to do to get involved is simply all being a part of food recovery and food waste. We wouldn't have so much food and waste if we all took our small parts. Like when we open our fridge, we rotate food items. We buy small amounts of produce that we need for that week and that day. It's little things. We had a great opportunity to start a speaker series and an education series, and through the Victoria School Districts and through the Esquimalt, teaching children about growing food in small garden boxes, how they can contribute to strengthening our food economy. And those environmental impacts takes a lot of leaders, young, old, in all areas, to come together and say, our island is important. We want to work together to have healthy food economy. And so ways you can give back is donate financially to the Food Security Distribution Center and food security through the Mustard Seed. 2, sign up to volunteer at volunteers@mustardseed.ca. And lastly, be informed, learn, buy less, grow more, support each other, and plan what you're going to do in your house. I know through this COVID, everybody's like, oh, what should I grow? Well, we should always be growing small gardens. But if you have a condo, there's incredible how much you can grow in a small little garden box on your deck. And it's quite fun to have your kids walk out and pull something to cook with. So those are ways that we at the Mustard Seed encourage and suggest to members of our community.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks so much for having me today. My name is Holly Dumbarton, and I had a little nonprofit called the Food Eco District, or FED for short. And in a nutshell, we're trying to create the first sustainable dining district in the country. So how we do that is by having 13 restaurant and cafe members who are all dedicated to eco-friendly practices. As you can see here, we have some great members, including Fishhook, Foo, Habit, Big Wheel Burger, Poke Fresh, Very Good Butchers, and a bunch of more great options as well. And then we use the Vancouver Island Green Business Collective, or VIGBC, as our standard by which we measure each restaurant. So they certify in 4 different categories, including retail shops, spas and salons, offices, and then of course restaurants and cafes. They're also working on a fleet certification for more tourism and transportation organizations down the line when they get back up and running again. And so this checklist, we use looks at 7 different categories, including everything from building and operations to water management, waste management, purchasing, all the way to the social side, like how are they and their staff getting involved in their community? Do they have a health and wellness plan in place for their staff? All that kind of fun stuff. And then we work with them to increase their sustainability initiatives over the years. So then another thing we do is install and maintain multiple edible gardens around town. In the district, and at our satellite locations as well. And so the intention with this isn't so much so that our restaurants can use what's grown in the planters in their menu, although this has been done a little bit in the past, but more to get growing in interesting ways on people's minds a little bit more. And it just kind of helps the aesthetic of the streets as well, a little nicer to be looking at some greenery. And then we actually, this summer, we did an edible streetscape campaign along Blanchard in the district, where we installed 10 planters with various foods and herbs that the community is welcome to use as they wish. And then we've installed educational signage to teach people tips and tricks on how to get started. So then another big piece to FED is our development of an urban learning garden in the courtyard at the Central Library downtown. We're in partnership with Life Cycles Project Society, and we have the lease to convert all of this underutilized urban space into 6 different kinds of gardens, and then we'll use it as an outdoor classroom to teach people more about growing in urban spaces. So we were supposed to install our next garden this spring, which will be a gathering place for the community with kind of an outdoor living room theme to it. Of course, this is on hold, but we're hoping that we'll get back up and running in the fall as well. And then, of course, on the topic of food waste, we've begun holding various food waste prevention events that provide fun ways for everyone to learn how to make more of the food that we love. So as an example, we held a harvest fiesta last September where we put on a taco competition that challenged local chefs to take food that otherwise would have gone to waste and incorporate that into their dishes. They then got the opportunity to use it as a way to talk about what they did and get people excited about the possibility of also doing it themselves. We also created a lot of fun tips and tricks to help people recognize that food prevention is way easier than they may have thought originally. We kind of recognize that food waste doesn't really sound that fun to learn about so far. So we've been trying to change the narrative a little bit so that people see it rather as a way to enhance their relationship with their food and why that even matters. I also just want to take 1 second to highlight that food in general relates to 8 of the top 20 solutions to climate change, with food waste prevention being the 3rd most important thing we could do to help reduce global warming. So it just shows you how important having these kinds of conversations really are, especially right now. And then finally, I just want to mention another project we've started up called My Fed Farm, which is trying to increase food security in the region by providing free startup food garden kits to those in Greater Victoria who have been laid off, are immunocompromised, or are really struggling through this pandemic right now. We'll then provide the participants with educational resources to really help them succeed in growing. So if you or anyone you know could benefit from one of these Fed farms, please visit the website in the bottom right corner to find out more and apply. And that is us in a nutshell. So we're kind of working it out now. We want to just hold our own workshops in the space, and that's sort of our main initial focus. But we'd love for other community organizations who are teaching about urban agriculture and maybe saving seed or anything to do with really growing in that capacity to use the space and to come kind of provide that education for free or very cheap for any resident who's willing to learn. Even there's ways to, like with burnt food, there's things that you can add, a little bit of vinegar here or a little bit of hot sauce that you don't have to throw that entire kind of pot away. You can sort of take whatever you can and save it in ways. So there's lots of like little kind of tips and tricks where you can do that. Yeah, so government has a pretty significant role, I think, in setting an example for its residents. In France and Italy, they changed their laws to make it illegal to waste food in markets and grocery stores, just to start. And it's had a really incredible effect on reducing food waste and getting that food to the people who really need it. So I think there's an opportunity to be a leader in this here. And although it's up to us to show our government this is something that we really care about, we do need our government to step up and sort of make these policies a priority. Totally. So I think it really comes down to our relationship with our food. It sounds really simple, but we need to sort of change our own habits. So it's things like eat real food, learn how to cook, be open to using ugly produce. You know, it tastes exactly the same, and sort of be an active citizen. So like talk about it, help force the big organizations to change. But really, I think essentially what it comes down to is caring about your food and really analyzing where you're at with the habits that you've created around it right now.